There we go.
So, welcome to another episode with Josh X on What If? The Search for Truth. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. Always a pleasure.
The very same. Thank you so much for being here, allowing me to be with you and everyone here with us viewing. I love you so much.
Yes. Very, very, very nice. We are blessed to have a source of information like yourself. How's the, just for if anyone's listening and, we have sometimes talked about training, fitness, and of course a lot about diet, but you're creating a fitness course at the moment, for those not aware. How far away is it from a release on the website?
Well, we have had a promotional video done last about 7 days ago. So we would like to share that before we release the course to give those who aren't with us an opportunity to join us.
Yeah.
And then we were thinking about releasing it sooner, but the video was a little bit delayed because the man that was doing it wasn't available. So I would say the 1st of September would be a good release date, and the 12-week challenge or transformational challenge will be available for everyone from beginners to gym working, to homeworks, to intermediate, to advanced. And then there'll be a 12-week protocol for everyone with different ways of training and stimulating the muscle with diet plans. And of course, a community support with access to all of the other beautiful courses that we have as well.
Yeah.
I think it was a good thing to do because being fruit-based and obviously 100% plant-based, consuming anything other than which is made by the earth and by my hands. It's a good way to share the increase in strength and muscle in such a short period of time with others. And like I stated before, in the first 3 months, I was able to gain about 60 pounds of weight. Not all muscle, but most of it was. And you may have lost me for a second.
I think we might just froze up a little bit because I changed network. So you were saying you gained 60 pounds in 3 weeks.
3 months.
3 months.
Yes. I had no visit to McDonald's, so the 3-week mark was a bit too.
And
yeah,
you can only ask so much of muscle memory, right? But it's an important factor.
Yes, of course. Most people will be able to have a great transformation with the amount of knowledge that we have from our previous experience in the gym and helping others. I think combined there's 45 years of experience with Sister Michelle and I. And of course, the whole way it was a very conscious observation and experience through our own processes. So everything to the last detail was observed, recognized, and changes were made to attune ourselves to the very best that we could do at any particular time. So yeah, 4.5 inches on the arms in the last 4.5 months now. And then, of course, everywhere also grew. So the legs put on about 5 inches and the chest about 5.
That's noticeable and admirable to say. For me as well, people have started now to comment a bit. They are noticing some differences.
Yes.
And what I see you drop the juice and fruit phase, and I say no, not really. So people are under the impression that can't be done. So it's quite fun to say that no, I'm still at least okay. We had a holiday. I'm not gonna lie. I had some, it's been some restaurant visits where I occasionally, let's just say, had the fish. There's been the occasional egg but just for the experience, but there has been a uptick in consuming of some potatoes in the nighttime. But at least it's not much protein involved, I can say. So that's how can I say? It's
When we speak of protein, it's a very funny concept because our body needs protein or uses protein to create muscles or new cells. But that's synthesized in the body by the glucose and amino acids that we consume in our fruits and secondary to vegetables. Then anytime we do consume protein, we have to break that down into a lesser complex form to absorb in our bodies. And then that causes acidosis slightly. This is why the optimum food source is that which is grown from the ground and drops from the trees effortlessly all the time without asking for anything other than the earth and water. How much have you, can you share with your gains, your body weight
well,
from the start to now?
Let's see. During the training phase, which has been now just about 8 or 9 weeks, starting very just moving, basically, just performing the exercises with very light weights, and for a lot of weeks of those 8-9 weeks, I would say 6 of them was just moving. But I guess we're talking around 10 pounds, no wait, 20 pounds weight gain on those weeks. And quite a few centimeters here and there. Also the waist, but that comes from, consuming a lot of fruits and food. So it's all
comes with also a little bit of balance, doesn't it? You recognize what you eat and then you put on slight amounts around the waist, but then adjusting that to not maintain to gain any more and maintain what you have, and then just adjusting the diet for losing body fat is something that's quite easy on this type of diet when you're not consuming.
So I'm how can I say?
I must say you're looking very good. I had a picture of Brother Jostein from a gym workout, and you're looking very good, brother.
Oh, thank you. Flattering will get you everywhere. No, thank you. And likewise, you have show me your guns. do a double biceps so people can see. Oh my God! You see, it can all be done on fruit.
Fruit is the way forward, I think. If everyone gives it a try, or anyone that is contemplating on the idea, then it's worth giving it a go, because you will see great results and your health will come back to the highest peak. Lots of people in the industry, especially with bodybuilding fitness, where they consume so much food to try to accumulate more muscle or mass or whatever their goal is, they're not necessarily consuming the best food. And if people die young, they tend to blame it on performance enhancing drugs, etc. But if you look at the way that the lifestyle they led, it's usually down to the food and other drugs that they've been consuming. It's like we see sports people, or there was a guy recently who had a big name in the fitness industry. His body wasn't necessarily, in the best shape, but he was huge. He had the 5% brand. I remember his calling right now. It's at the tip of my tongue. Can you see it?
The guy with tattoos.
Yeah, Rich Piano.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and obviously he was using things like synthol that were injected into the muscle belly, which makes them look or appear bigger, but they're not their naturally formed shapes. But upon his death, people came out and said he was addicted to many things like cocaine, opioids, etc., which will destroy a life, destroy the body, mind, spirit. So this way is the healthiest way, the most optimum for the body, keeps the body performing with great longevity, happiness, and no peaks and troughs, just a pure flat line of high performance.
I don't know where to start. Going back to coming from, when I think we discussed it before, but it's about when you give, when you go back, just introducing potatoes, just something like potatoes, and being a holiday. And I don't judge anything of what I've done. I'm just honest and telling you what's happened. Like, having some restaurant visits, all these things. It's strange how those small things kind of take you a bit back into the carnal mind, kind of. I was more or less 100% fruits, or I would say I was, but with a few hiccups, which I always confessed, and I don't. I'm not trying to hide anything, and also doing things like because you come across concepts in this journey, and one of them was kind of semen retention and all those things, and you try to do all these things and you meditate, but now it's like I'm a bit taken into the carnal mind. It's like this is like a sense I have, it's back a little bit, having some cooked foods and ejaculating everywhere. No, I'm not. But it's however, it's I feel good, and I think that's the main goal, right?
That's it. We're looking for something forever until we realize that we're everything we're looking for, and the experience that we have is to be enjoyed. And if we're regretting things that we have done, worrying about what we may do, there is an element of suffering there. But what you have done has been done, and what you have now is an opportunity to experience. And being free from those thoughts is being in the best place you could ever be, just experiencing in happiness. Anytime one is actually happy and laughing, the thing they've dropped is the thought. I mean, essentially, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a house, a car? And is the house or car in the pursuit of happiness? Because essentially everyone just wishes to be happy. And we all have this ability in this moment to let go of any of these concepts that we hold and smile. And just be in joy. And that's why there's a full circle. Because you look around on this circle and you get through these concepts, you adjust the concepts to if you are a seeker of truth, you find the truth is in the realm of the earth, the food systems, the body. Where does it take you, and are you happy? Then you go inward to the spiritual nature and you realize the things that were stopping you from. This was the demon, the thoughts, all these concepts that were acquired all the way, which gave preference to the ego. And then by surrendering the ego allows you to live in the present moment, which is truly the greatest gift. We, on the pursuit of this happiness, spirituality of the self, we have expectations even about what should be when we have found the self. But if you've been looking from the self this whole time, but looking for it in the same, you've already been it. You just become blocked by the concepts and the perception. You are it. You are everything.
But there's so much distractions. There's so much distractions. I think, I talked to a few people, and to me, it seems like it seems like like the conspiracies are kind of an entry level to awakening.
Yes.
It seems to be a thread where everybody started to see some part of reality being otherwise than what they thought, right? It was something different. Not that they found necessarily the truth, but they found another side of the story. And I found that.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
But no, please, you just want to say, and I'll
Okay.
get right.
Yeah, let me just say, like, I can just say from my own side, you know, stumbling across, which is no coincidence, of course. It's happened exactly at the right time, at the right moment. But you stumble across conspiracies, you want to share, you want to show everybody, and then that creates
Friction.
friction, and then after a while, you realize that I'm just part of the whole, how do you say, divide and conquer concept, because you're creating separation, even if you, and that's why I've said it before. I come to the realization I only know that I don't know anything except the things that you practice.
Or you could say, I only know that I am.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's a very great thing when one begins to see the falsehood within the world, and it's designed that way perfectly for one to begin a journey of seeking the truth. And when one does, they tend to begin to uncover the lies and the deception, and their focal point is on that, trying to spread this with others to show them the lies. But if one stays on the journey, focused on the truth, they'll find liberation and happiness during that process. But a great deal of suffering is found with uncovering lies. For example, the chemtrails, they've been about for 100 years. And when one can see them spraying their skies and turning them completely grey every single day, and then they want to share it with others, and others don't look up at the sky because they have no awareness of it, and you wish or have a will to change this. The reason why this is in the skies at this present time in the experience is to awaken one to a higher value within their own existence. And essentially, when one has awoken to this, the system and the screen that one is seeing will begin to change. But everything's perfect, and the desire to change something is always going to cause suffering. So you accept this there, and you continue with your life and look around, navigate yourself within the matrix where there's probably a lot less of this going on. But it's something that only the one can change. And that one is when one wakens to the self and doesn't need this screen anymore. And this is happening to each and every one that is finding this space within themselves.
And it's that, you made an example, but it's actually, this is actually the truth. Also, this is true for all concepts, like all conspiracies, all these things are
just no separation.
Yeah. And like you say, needed or a must to awaken.
Absolutely. Even scriptures talk about spider webs, cobwebs in the sky.
Yeah.
In the end of the days. And the days is when one is walking around in the unknown, unknowingly experiencing via the ego. As you become aware and acutely observe, you'll see that every change that is done within is expressed without. And you continue to accept momentary presence as the new space by letting go of the drama that is conceptualized with the forms that you hold inside the thought, and liberation after liberation after liberation.
I can still find myself at times share something that's will be by some viewed as a conspiracy, because I just find it interesting. But I find myself more going into threads where people are arguing, because you have the two sides, and trying to point out that how do you know, and how do you know what you have as a base to have this perception is information. You're just two beings or more that have chosen two different sources of information. So in reality, you don't know anything. You don't know. You have trusted information. So why maybe not agree to disagree, give each other a hug, and let's try to work this out together.
Yeah, exactly. And more open discussions with more facts allows more people to see. And, this is why something such as the chemtrails now, even though it's a very basic conspiracy that's been about for 100 years, the first patent was 1338343, and it's atmospheric aerosol, and you can see how it was designed. And then you go into the recognition of recently, or not so recently, that the CIA and other companies are speaking about geoengineering, where they are stopping global warming. But the nature of the machine is opposite. You see, I don't know if you experience a lot of heavy chemtrails where you are, but in the UK we do, and very heavy. I mean, the skies in England would be pretty much blue a lot of the time, probably 250, 300 days a year, but they are totally manipulated to be grey all the time. And if you are observant and you use your senses on one day, it actually increases the heat, because through atmospheric magnification of the sun, you actually get the warmer feel from these chemtrails. So they're not cooling anything down. They're actually heating and trapping things. And how you'll find it in the UK, because the weather likes to be cold here a lot of the time, they tend to chemtrail maybe 6 a.m., cover the sun. This is usually in the winter, especially cover the sun in the rising, block it from warming up the earth here. And then about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, where it's dark and the moon is out, it will shine cold. So the earth doesn't warm up, and they keep it cold in the day, and then it gets really cold at night, and then they do the same thing each day. So it keeps the temperature very cool. And that's probably the only way they can conceptualize it cooling the earth, because if you spray it on a hot day, it becomes very warm, very humid, very thick. Let us know if you experience this.
Yeah, well, I have kind of sensed, now that you say it, it makes sense.
Every day. It's like clockwork. Really is, and it's ridiculous to see it. For some reason, every evening it just becomes very clear. As if by magic.
We I can't complain really about, let's say, the summer in Norway. We had a lot of blue skies. There's always kind of a whale. Like it's not like blue skies like how I remember blue skies. Like a clear when I was young.
Yeah. Same here.
So yeah, so there's more kind of it's blue, but it's kind of hazy. And sometimes, of course, I remember we went to Denmark in the summer holiday, and there they sprayed a lot more than here, actually. It was really
more commerce. Is there more commerce in Denmark than there is where you are? Is there more industry?
There's a lot of farming in Denmark.
Okay.
So
animal farming or
animal
farming or
no. I would say corn, but that's not correct because but wheat and also plants, also animals. A lot of cows and things in Denmark.
You'll see as well if everyone observes during the time for planting, the season for planting, the skies tend to be always clear, and there's no spraying around the germination of the seeds or the beginning where they sow them, and you'll recognize that it becomes very warm and clear, and then it suddenly goes cloudy again in the UK.
Yeah, I just noticed that I have cursed the spraying here, but there it was a lot worse. So that was easy to see and noticeable. So
please,
how not to judge it, but what's and probably we have mentioned this before in the previous episode, but what's the goal? Is it just for awareness and to people to react to it, or is it a goal? Is it in that case, is it a nefarious goal, like somebody want to kill us all, or?
No, I think people genuinely who are in those positions believe there is some sort of necessary need, because the illusion of the media, let's say, and people that are pulling the strings, or consciousness itself expressing to those people who are pulling the strings that there is a need to deal with climate change. And as you are probably aware, there's been many different false crises to do with our ozone, to do with the climate, to do with these types of things ever since we have been brought into fruition here. So essentially it is to tackle excessive heat. But when you hear things like it's the hottest summer in 100 years, then if it was a hotter 100 years ago, how is it warming up? And I would say possibly there's a possibility that the position of the moon is changing, and that there could be some experiencing or some shifts of like a heat distribution on the plane. But that would probably be one of the only reasons. I wouldn't like to go into the ideas that how the toroidal Earth is forever expanding, and as there are 3 suns present and 3 moons with like a Mercury being at the center, conceptualizing, do your own experiential research, that there could be a birth of a new sun, manifesting from the center to then push these others out onto the outer space lands. But those type of things have left me, and I tend to just live here presently. But there is a possibility of such a thing happening, and if everyone has researched like the pole switch, where the poles reverse, of course, polarity reverses on a torus field, and the Earth is a torus, and the inertia plane is the light frequency, energy, and vibration that we can experience matter on. Then this is a possibility.
So how would actually polarity change, or the change of polarity happen on a plane? Would it be just a reversal of the energy flow, or is it just also how would?
Well, if you say like a torus field, just quickly draw the torus field. Not a very good one, but it'll do. So you're living here, and you could say this would be, I should have done this before, a field. So the hyperboloids are here, and these are the poles. But if you say that the suns could be like here, moons could be here, rotating around here, we're just existing on the plane, and all of this is the field or energy. So the planets, which are wandering stars, which are suns and moons, are a part of the field, or the plasma in the fields. And when geometric lines of opposite natures are crossing, like a net, this is why a magnet is a net shape, and all nets are very strong, they produce plasma. So, I mean, this is beyond, yeah, I like to give truth, and this is beyond like saying this is the ultimate truth, but this is just conceptualizing things. So the stars that rotate around the Earth, which have never changed and have always remained fixed, this is another thing that can be put into one's awareness to recognize that we're not spinning through some open space with all of these other planets and Milky Ways and all of these other solar systems. This to do with the just toroidal energy.
Mm.
But
And
essentially that was dreamt via the one to be able to experience form in a way where you can get lost and play, because even that is non-physical.
mm, not to go back too much to things we have talked about, but I find it very fascinating. You remember we discussed where our, let's say, our known, how can I say, land area
Mhm.
is just a part of the plane, the bigger plane,
Mhm.
and that Venus and Mars is actually then a sun and a moon on a different area of the same plane.
Yeah,
And going further out, you will
that's why
probably
Venus is there and rising, and you can see her so bright in the distance, and Mars can be seen. And if you go to the outer area of the Earth, the South Pole, you can see another sun.
exactly.
Mm. As you keep it on video, you know, people seeing two suns in the sky. And that's why all of the rockets do that when you study and observe rockets. And that's why everyone in NASA has never been to upper space, ever.
So are the other planets, the known planets, are they then other suns and moons, or are they a part of our plane? Like,
They are planets. It's the same as plane T, isn't it? So physical planes. So they're physical planes, and what we would call a planet is actually the sun or the moon. But it's the area where you would exist under. So that would be the plane, and that would be the plane's sun, which they refer to as a planet to obscure the truth.
so Mars will be uh, um, a area outside the South Pole, or it will be a sun or a moon? Which one is what?
So the way the moon, if you ever see any ice queens in these movies, etc., that's related to the moon. So where the sun is having its path and the moon is also having its path, where the sun is on its position, I wouldn't say fixed position, but it is on a fixed position, but that does change. So it's a changing fixed position. The moon would be closer to the South Pole. This is why it gets very cold. And this is why sometimes there's 6 months of daylight, 6 months of darkness. You have, you know, in like this, the North Pole, you experience, I think at the moment you're experiencing a lot of light. Is that right?
Yeah, not too. So in my part of the country, it's basically just long days. But in northern part of Norway, you would have daytime. Also not daytime, but day sunlight can be
23
24/7.
hours.
At least in
Oh,
the
okay.
more the middle of the summer. You won't. The
Hmm.
sun will
So
never go
you'll
down. It will.
notice,
It will touch the horizon probably and just rise
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Mm.
So if you notice in the winter when there's a full moon or a moon is present over your space, it begins to frost. So the moon would have created this pole or this cold ice wall as it was over it, and its power was more dominant there. And as the moon, or the distance of the moon and the sun on the other side, is creating ice and then more land or water than land. So essentially, it's just the position of the moon, the position of the sun, and what's being created as in the water on the earth. The earth is predominantly water, you know, and the ether within the field of the earth and physical experience is water, as we did show on ether and water. And then the
Yeah,
sun will be
exactly.
there. You know, the sun will be there. I have no idea how barren it is. I have no idea how much life could be available there, how much trees, etc. grow, but it seems to be a more dense area, and it's going to be something built with a lot of artificial intelligence and for habitational purposes. Maybe a gamer's paradise.
Yeah. Would you, so, okay, not to go, because I think we have touched about it before, but I find it so interesting. So outside the ice wall, let's say, there's a land area, and you were just talking about you don't know how fertile or how do you say, yeah, what state this land may be, like if it's a place where things can grow very good or easily or at all. But would it then be another ice wall and another land area outside?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, that's not a good thing, but could it be like if consciousness is expanding, could consciousness go from our plane and then out and then like a wave then get to this place? Because if we're talking about there's life on Mars before there's been inhabitants on Mars, or on Mars or in Mars or whatever, that in this, if so, and under these circumstances, could it be like then there's life there and then there's less life where we are now, and then even later it will go to the outer part?
Like, if you want to get really into conceptualization, so in the beginning there was, you would say, the beginning of the field grew and it started to open up. Let's say Saturn and Jupiter. Then over a period of time, who knows, dinosaurs may have existed there. Who knows? We're not digging up bones here. And then after this, then you had Mars and Venus. And then a more conscious life forms existed. And then you had our sun, Apollo, and our moon here. And then more consciousness was here due to the vibration. And then there may still be life there. Who knows? All we're seeing is barren desert pictures. But again, those have been taken on our plane a lot of the time. And when you see NASA's pictures, you got to realize they're all called images and they're all made on CGI. There's even all their space pictures. They've never been called a picture, always an image.
That's true. That was just something that I was
never... Sorry, please.
No, I was interrupting you, so I'm sorry. But I was just contemplating about these things, and like if things normally operates in waves or how do you say, spirals or waves, there's always that actually life,
like a tree, like the ring on a tree, as it ages, the rings of the earth. But you have to conceptualize it, because essentially the earth was a tree. And then more trees came, and then more trees came, and then we live here. But we have to remember one thing is the ultimate truth. The one which was able to create these within inside themselves was able to create this dream. And this dream was then able to be experienced by the one who has then fallen into the visual seer, into the experiencer, into the person, and then back again. Person into the experiencer, to the self, to recognize the source of all of this. So when we talk physicality, there is one side of a coin to the truth, but the truth is all physicality is energetic, and then all energetic is from the self. So it's very difficult to speak on these concepts without mentioning things such as that, because there's just truths, and obviously then these truths become concepts. And there is only one truth, that you are the subject reality of the self. But they are very interesting. I mean, many years ago, this was my forte. I very much enjoyed uncovering all of these mysteries because I needed to know. at that particular time. Everything that was available to me.
Because that was what needed for you to realize that it really didn't matter.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But essentially, being the highest physical mind is not ever going to lead you to the self unless you can recognize it. So every single falsehood in there, if you continue and don't get trapped inside the concept realm, you continue to focus on truth after you recognize the negative emotions that it brings, the separation. Even food itself causes so much separation. When you try to help family or you try to help friends who are ill or unwell, you just mention something such as food can help reverse your disease, and they think you're absolutely a problem starter, a fool.
Yeah, I'm let's say dead in the middle of a situation right now where my mom is in the hospital, quite sick. I have, because I believed it was the right thing to do, tried to convince her, and this was before things got really bad. That the lifestyle might be good to change up, and that she didn't quite buy it, let's say. And so I can't, in a situation like this now where she's in the hospital and things are not looking too good, you can't start pushing and forcing.
It's just love. Yeah. Nothing you can do more than be there for her and spend the last days with pure love,
Exactly.
accepting, surrendering, and knowing that everything that's happening to her is for her, and she will absolutely know very soon.
Yeah. I tried to mention those things as well, that it's not over, this is not the end, and these things. But again, for somebody not aware, it just sounds like crazy talk, because she's only worried about the ones she leaves behind, and that the fact that she doesn't want to leave us behind. So yeah, one have to be careful, probably how far to take those things.
Big learning curve for everyone, to be able to handle emotions, to be able to recognize thought takes you somewhere other than this moment. It doesn't serve anyone, anything. And all thoughts then connect and relate to the emotional body. And the emotional body can maintain balance at all times with the attention fixated on present. And that's why it's such a gift, because freedom is found here, always. And again, this culture, Western culture, looks at it as if it's a negative thing, but some Eastern cultures still celebrate it,
Yeah.
People have funerals and wakes, and they don't really realize what they're for. A wake. Why would it be called a wake, my brother? It may, in another round, be called sleep, but it's called wake here.
Yeah.
So I think there's the hints, there's the tips. First part of the word funeral is fun.
Yeah, exactly. And we have Ole on he's with us, so he's from Awake, just to mention. Hello, Ole. We love you.
The world's greatest platform, manifesting. Good man. Lovely to see you.
We're looking forward to that, so we don't have to rely on YouTube and those kind of things.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I forgot to record again. And you know what? I think they have probably taken down some of our videos. I noticed today that our previous video before today was in the end of June. And I'm pretty sure we had some between that and now. So yeah, that's not
well, let me know, because I may have some. And
yeah, you might have. And also I'm sharing to Facebook, so it's not only YouTube who are have control over those.
Hopefully we haven't crossed the line. on an
Well,
inside
no, I
out
didn't think so, but
observation.
you can't say everything. There's certain
Yes.
words you have to be careful to mention.
I remember when I first spoke on YouTube, on someone else's channel, and I was speaking about veganism, plant-based, and expressing that veganism is essentially an agenda, you know, and how it's not leading you to anywhere healthy because the health lies in the whole food, plant-based. But where I said it was an agenda, within I think 20 minutes of it going onto YouTube, that was actually muted out.
Okay.
Yeah. I never forget when I replayed it and I recognized that was muted out quite obviously.
Just that.
Just that, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because
But then I was more into concepts then, so I was spitting out a bit more concepts.
I see now we have a few comments. Air Indigo, hello, says this is the first video I've seen of you two in seems like a couple of months. Yeah, we have had a few. Yeah, we had some weeks between them, but there has been a couple. And Lisa says, yeah, I went to watch one again from this summer and it wasn't there. So we
Well,
might
we
have
have this moment and we have the future moments, so we can continue and enjoy this space together.
And just this is also then Ole, you have to hurry up.
Yes, please do.
We need you.
We are waiting patiently.
We need a wake. Yeah. So I want to revisit another concept, or I don't know exactly where to put it, but there's a lot of talk about free will, and we have discussed it before. I know, and we can just just to start there. Free will, is it an illusion of free will? We believe we have free will, or do we actually have free will? And if so, because this was something just going through my mind one day, I was contemplating, let's say, and could free will be okay? Let's say if the goal, or if where we want to go is to have this trust in that everything is perfect, all is as it should be, don't worry, everything is under control and out of your control, so just enjoy the ride. Could then free will just be an obstacle to make it a bit difficult to get there? Let's say, because if it was easy, everybody would have done it, I guess.
I think free will, if we start with free will is not available to the one which is full of illusions, or is a person or a persona or a character that is not aware of the self and cannot live presently, making decisions based on responses rather than reactions. So if one is reacting via ego instead of responding, free will has gone. The free will is believed, but it is a reaction that is stored inside ego. So there is no free will. If you can imagine one which becomes conscious, if we utilize a computer game, for example, and there is a scene and there is a player, but there is one who is playing this player and is aware of that. Sometimes people may get lost in games, especially this new virtual reality, but within the game, one can make a decision and respond to the scene. So then one has a free will inside the construct of the experience to choose. That brings great power, because then you are not reacting. You are in a responding manner, which then life begins. So you see the symbols, the signs, the laws, the statutes, the acts, speed limits, language, like attention. You have a apostrophe like this. It's an upside down I. but the I is number 9, and 9 is consciousness. So where do you give your attention? You flip it upside down, and it's to the 1. You bring your attention to the moment, and you give your fixated attention to this moment. You'll always be that which you're seeking in perpetual joy. If you remember that, it's only when you think you suffer. So anytime someone thinks, they feel this pain. And it's really that simple. Spirituality, or the more someone is spiritual, is the less they think. And the more they don't have any relay of reality via the ego into their conscious presence, the more silence comes, it creeps in. And then essentially all of this is revealed to oneself. It's a revelation. The book of Revelations, everything will be recognized by you on your journey. And that's why it's a journey. This is why Solomon is the solo one, which takes his journey, which turns his house into a temple. And then the temple has to go. God shall dwell with you forever, everlasting life. All of these mysteries is here. Recognize that you can never ever die, because you are the one which has created this. And the belief that you were the body and the mind made you believe that this is your life. And it was just created inside of you for an experience, just as the bodies are created inside your dream. When you fall asleep, there's no difference.
Mm. Mm.
So free will is available to everyone presently. But can you find that space? It's a very hard thing not to react.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's the easiest thing, because you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have kind of I won't say stumble upon, because of course it was what this was meant to happen, but not judging, but if you were to, let's say, judge it, if I can look back and it looks very coincidental. I know now that it's far from it, but how I kind of came to the place where I dared to trust. And so I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just taking each day as it comes, and let's say opportunity.
Why would you not trust, because you have ideas, concepts that stop you from trusting. The war eyes that people carry with them from the learnt behavior, the learnt perception. And that's the simplest way to find yourself in an experience that is just full of beautiful experiences all the time. There's just so many different things in this experience that can keep you captivated. They can captivate, box you, the work, then concepts within inside of it, and then you feel like you have no life. But it's the idea of all of this which keeps you in that perpetual state. Yeah, the idea that one can be liberated is a very strange idea for a lot of people. But even daring to dream such a thing will allow the dream to come into fruition, because you shall be provided for. Always.
And that's kind of where my question before about the free will come in, because when I let's say made the choice, I won't say, but when I started to trust, I kind of gave up free will, because I'm more of the perception that I'm just along for a ride. If I have a will, I'm just standing in my own way, probably. And
confused with possibly a desire. because I'd say a will is an intention, and intentions will bring forth the manifestation with attention, but maybe the will of or desire can be confused, because you can make yourself lunch. You can get up now, you can ignore the idea that when it's hungry and go and experience something else within this. This is your will. But if you do that unconsciously, you're not having will. You're being brought by your desires and obviously what has been programmed inside of you. Even cigarette smoking or the drug habits, etc., even your habitat, where habits are at. You can overcome any addiction by not thinking, because the addictions are just in a thought space and they are thought based. People say, I fancy a fag or a cigarette. They just thought about the sensation that they got when they smoked the cigarette, the reward, essentially. This is why people are addicted to, negative relationships, because they're addicted to the reward they get with the makeup, to having such a blowout. People are addicted to so many negative things because the ego gets rewarded all the time.
I might be going about this all wrong. For all I know, it's like I'm kind of thinking that because of taking the approach that I believe that whatever I'm meant to do, I will do, because I will be provided the thoughts, the ideas, or whatever I need to have to make what I'm supposed to do happen. Right? And if it's so, and kind of this is what I have practiced the last couple of years, and it has worked for me, I would say. It's been by no means my life has kind of stopped in its tracks. People are still coming in, and things are happening all the time. So and this is why I'm trying to say I'm not, and I could be totally wrong, as I say, because if you're talking about manifesting, and if you go by the human design things, I'm a manifester, right? So maybe I'm wasting my talents because I'm not trying to manifest anything. I don't have any wish. I don't have any desire. I'm just going, let's say, by air, or like I'm just letting what comes to me, and I act on an idea or a thought to do something, to call somebody.
It really depends on which I is in a position. If you're saying the eye of all seeing, it does nothing, just sees. Did you miss that?
You froze up a bit for me, so I'm not sure.
It depends on which eye or which position of eye you are coming from. And that's why it's multidimensional, because if the eye, the all-seeing eye, the consciousness itself does nothing but observes. So if you're coming from that, then of course you just observe. The true self is the eye that sees. But if you're coming into the position of an experiencer, then you have a choice, because you're utilizing the awareness of the body and mind. But the body and mind is seen by the one, which is the eye. So in the recognition that you have the body, mind, and can make choices within inside the dream that is being observed by the one, then you have it. If you're not aware, you don't. But as the eye is just observing. So where you see ancient texts or maybe religious concepts that say there is no free will, it all depends on the position of the one. But you have this ability to be all, not just the one which sees. You can engage in the experience fully and control the one so that one can experience more, even experience choice or the perception of choice. But you essentially, as this body, have free will, absolutely, being conscious and present to make your own choices. Others do not necessarily. Others are controlled by symbols and signs and react. When someone has a conversation and they are feeling like they need to be going home, but they don't go home, they stay there because their thoughts have manifest and say that they feel rude if they say to this guy's talking too much, you know, that they don't have their free will, they're not expressing themselves honestly, and then they create more thought forms and demons they have to overcome. So it's all multidimensional, and there is not one single truth other than the I.
Well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, actually. I'm just
Whatever you're doing it good.
And that's what I mean, and that's kind of what this.
I think you've lost the desire to control your future. And you've lost the concept of trying to change the past. And you're living presently in a way where you're elevated and happy. And your elevation and happiness is bringing the necessary experiences to you, so you remain in that state because that is what you're pulling in. In the perception of energy, your energy field is pulling in the energy that it needs for that experience.
Exactly, and that was kind of my point, that I'm trusting in that I will be provided whatever I need, be it a thought, be it an idea, be it whatever, something physical, whatever I need to fulfill my purpose, I will get.
And that trust creates liberation from the idea that you have to do something to create that. But if you had an idea that you had to do something to create that, you would have to do something to create that. But because you have the trust in me and you shall be saved, then you're saved.
I'm saved.
A bird doesn't have to think about taking care of itself. It doesn't have to hope that there's going to be something to consume it. There just is always something for him.
However, I have no problems, understanding that to take this leap of faith can be scary, or you might even, you can't grasp it, you won't believe it can be so.
It's definitely earned. You know, you have to go through these experiences to be able to let go. Otherwise, you just hold on. So these things that you've done have led you on a path that over time, your acceptance and surrender to all these ideas and concepts that you held as the personal identity aren't there. And each time that you let go a little, you had more faith because you've seen and you observed the response in letting go. And when you let go, you can observe things in your reality that happen for you. And then you think, wow, I let that go. And then all of a sudden, the traffic started moving. Anything. And then over time, you build up this new recognition and inside revelation that you can trust. And all is perfect. And if something occurs, then just by accepting it as something which is divine in its nature and its absolute perfection is for your elevation. It is a testament. That's why at this particular point, everything that you have done so well has led you to this level of freedom that you do not need to do anything for your happiness. It's here.
Exactly. And I want it for everybody. That's why. But I see that possibly that's not just something you can tell somebody and they can just go around and do it. It takes
years of dedication to the truth, great devotion to the truth and applying the truth, and then observing that which was applied and the reality that surrounds you. on all bodies, especially the emotional body, because that needs to be overcome to be free. Or you could say a higher truth, the ideas that cause the emotional body to respond need to be let go of. So there's actually nothing to do. But the idea that there is nothing to do is a very difficult one for someone who is identified very much with the body and all the concepts that are held there.
Yes.
To become enlightened, my brother, you need not do anything.
Perfect. That's the way I like it.
But that is in a way where it means don't do anything. Stay as you were. Stay silent. Don't allow thoughts to come in. Keep them at bay. Stay present. And then it's very simple.
And whatever happens, it was meant to be. So what's for dinner? But
whatever appears.
You know, I've picked your brain for a bit of over an hour, and I normally like to get the people in the chat also to raise some questions. I was going to ask you a bit, but we can do that next time. You know, we have touched upon, you know, dreams and dreaming in some of the Q&As, and maybe we did in a previous episode as well. But I would like to go deeper into that, but we can do it next time. So I haven't actually had the chance to follow the chat too much. I don't know if there's any questions at all. Actually, if there's not, we can go back to the dreams.
I did see a health question regarding arthritis, but one of the lovely commenters, viewers, answered it in a beautiful way. We shall read it and give a spin on it. Any insight on healing arthritis is much appreciated. Thank you. Then we had Indigo saying a change of diet helps wonders, fasting, etc. I supposedly had MS and pre-diabetes, and all those are reversed.
Fantastic.
So, calcification of our body, our joints, arthritis. Essentially, we consume acid or acid-forming foods, and this is a response of that. So what we need to do is consume foods which are alkalizing to the body, allowing the body to stay in a balanced or neutral state without removing any storage or alkalizing buffering system, which is in our minerals. But anytime that you're consuming anything other than your whole foods, any type of meat, any type of dairy, any type of processed foods, you will find this being aggravated due to inflammation. So I can see in the comments that you said you've been predominantly based on fruit for around 3 months. You should find some sort of liberation already. If you have not, the question would be, have you been interacting with anything else? Just such as processed food or dairy, fats, etc. But yes, maintain on that type of lifestyle. Stay healthy, plant-based. Add in some intermittent fasting. Maybe do a short juice fast. If you are up for it, do a short water fast. And try to get yourself grounded at least 15 minutes a day. If you put your feet on the ground for around about 15 minutes, you will notice that there is a massive decrease in inflammation and pain in your joints. And we, of course, wish you well and will will your healing and return to perfect health.
I see Air Indigo also says, all I basically eat is avocados, salmon, and crackers.
Okay.
But he also now he came up with the question just now: does salmon cause inflammation? I eat no other meat.
Yeah, of course it will create inflammation due to the nature of it being 100% protein based. There is no sugar inside your salmon. Your body's primary source of fuel is sugar. Your body will have to break that down, even though it is one of the least complex forms of life. avatar life in a body of a fish, you will have to break down many things. And don't forget that most salmon are now farmed. And in those farming practices, there will be a multitude of non-food products and unnatural ways. But this will be causing acidosis for you. So I would suggest dropping the crackers, dropping the salmon, maybe adding in some homemade in replacement, some homemade potato crisps or chips, depending on where you live on the plane, out of potatoes, dried potatoes, and put them inside a panini press for around about 12 to 15 minutes, spreading your avocado on there, and then changing the salmon for some tomato. But just try to remain on fruits if you can. If you can. It's a slow and steady transformation, you know. And I think you won't need to go to fruits if you're still consuming things such as salmon and crackers. You will just need to go to a whole food plant-based diet.
Polar Camel has, he says, they say that the Earth has begun spinning faster this year. And then he also follows up, but we live in a fixed and still world as per the holy books. And as also we also discussed a bit earlier.
It's fixed in a sense where it's not moving, but the energetic realm is consistently moving. So every atom has a resonance, and you will recognize that the science, even though it's twisted and taken on a front-based relationship with the words, is totally the opposite of the truth. But inside there is some truths to it, because the Earth is spinning, but only the energetic field of the Earth, and the observable phenomenal reality is fixed. And the stars obviously rotate around us the same every single day, and they have never changed.
And yet people still believe that we are moving in all thinkable directions, wobbling and going through space, and you know, all these kinds of, how then? And that's what kind of made it for me, like, how can the North Star stay centered, at least more or less, around the North Pole, far away out in space, and just following us, then doing all these movements? It's always there, and all the other stars are, of course, also. But so it's in a possibility.
Yeah, it is, and obviously even more if you go from out of center to the other stars, then I mean, for them to remain the same every single night, that's an absolute impossibility as well.
Exactly.
But even the fact of stars, you know, the only stars that are actually have some sort of physicality are the wandering stars, which are planets. That's what they mean. I think it was in Greek, wandering stars. So if you go up to a certain level, the stars disappear. And if you observe them through a lens, not any lens, let's say a P1000 Coolpix camera or a P900, you observe it, it's like water is over them. We know that this whole ether or this whole earth has different densities of water, but they're essentially lights, aren't they? They're just like plasma lights, and they just flicker. They may be down to resonance and sound and the frequencies that they're attuned to. And as you get closer to them, the frequencies and resonance aren't as they are here observable. So they just become invisible and non-visible.
I don't know where I heard or picked that up, but somewhere, moment in time, I've heard that some would say that above the firmament it's water. What do you make of that? Do you find any?
I mean, I've never been.
No, you haven't?
I would say that the firmament is the edge, which would be the end of the torus field. If there was ever more expanding things, which I think is too conceptualized, because the experience that we're having is here and now in this moment, and what is perceived is what is need to be perceived and willed to be experienced. But everything is water. Everything is water, you know, and wind is a different mediation of water, pressure, and so is the sea and the movement of the sea. So I wouldn't like to go beyond the firmament. But I think up until the firmament, there's definitely different densities of water. Maybe the floodgates might open and we may see it one day.
You never know. You never know.
But
And hopefully, Noah
I
is.
definitely wouldn't conceptualize that in a way where I would have any belief to that. I definitely have no fear of my own existence and the beautiful reality that surrounds me.
Neither do I, brother. So, Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
So then we can help. Okay, the questions have come in as we went through our talk, so some you have to kind of take it back a bit. But so then we can help to manifest our own awakening if we are consciously choosing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But as you're consciously choosing it, you're awakening. So they would come hand in hand because one wouldn't constantly consciously choose without one awakening. Just as one could choose to go out or to stay in.
Andreas Wallester has a question, and I believe he have had that on a different episode at one time. Could you please invite the Mangotarian, now Meatarian, to your show to talk about diet? He was a long time fruitarian, and now eats a lot of meat. I would be so interested. It would be so interesting. And yes, I can agree. It would be interesting. We can try. I can try.
I can probably say, from here, he was experiencing some sort of deficiency due to the way things were grown. And obviously, animal flesh has been injected with a multitude of vitamins, including essential B vitamins, which have been bred out of the soil due to low cobalt in the soil. So he may have had a desire inside of his body to remember where the last time he had a slight dose of vitamin B12, which may have been in the meat, and then he went on the journey of meat. Meat being injected, 95% of supplementation of vitamin B12 is injected into livestock. So I would say that this is the issue with most people who cannot stay and maintain on a fruit-based diet or a whole food plant-based diet, because essentially it is the truth. You feel absolutely incredible when you start on this diet, which is why people tend to maintain on it. But if there is an underlying deficiency, which I think 75% of the world are vitamin D and B12 deficient, then without having these animal products that have been injected with it, you're not getting very much unless you're in your own garden and you have good soil.
That's why we need to go and make our own gardens.
It's happening.
It's happening. And you're all welcome. Let's see. Could you please invite them? Josh, Lisa just have a comment. You were perfectly describing Matthew 6:26. Our Heavenly Father taking care of the birds in the air, so won't He take care of us? You take care of you. It's a very compassionate say.
Day 5 of fast cleaning. Well done. Dear esoteric compassionist, lovely to hear.
Green-minded wolf says, hello. We love you, wonderful brothers. May 14th in the morning, our precious son, 24 years old, didn't wake up. Please talk about the dimensions where we go. Thank you. Blessings.
Love and light to you. And I hope that you are able to recognize everything as its perfection. And of course, in the moments of his perceived passing, he would have woke up to his true nature, recognizing that he was the one who was able to create dreams and fall into the dreams, losing his own awareness, experiencing separation from himself, but never been separate from anything and anyone. So he is of you, you are of him, and he will never be without you. You will never be without him. Essentially, you are two of the same. It is just the ideas that you hold inside the personal beliefs that have caused this separation. And just as we speak about the dreams, in your dreams, the others that you speak to and see, are they separate from you? And they have never been separate from you, just as here. So when we go past the identity crisis that we have here, and we climate and change and recognize who we are, what we are, when we are, we can really know that everything is perfect and divine for the experience. End your suffering, end the idea, be here, remember all the great things, and continue to experience these moments in pure peace and happiness. And anytime you wish, you'll be able to see him again. Anytime. Just shut your eyes.
Mm.
Open the eye.
Yes. Yes. You kind of now went into the dreams a little bit, so maybe just quickly, let me see. I just not remember the questions left, so I can probably just, because I've started to explore a bit. This dreams explore is maybe to take it a bit far, but I'm starting to take your advice in when you wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, on your advice, I wake up in the morning and I don't open my eyes. I'm trying to cling on to the dreams. And what I have noticed is that it's something that, I can wake up and I can like, oh, what did I dream? And then maybe I just have a small piece. But as I just wait and actually just wait, focus on that small piece, and suddenly more pictures. Yeah, exactly. And it seems to be, and maybe not very strange, but it seems to be a practice as well. Something you can train to be better at. And of course, stop smoking weed is probably a good start.
You won't dream on that, on the THC. It tends to take away the REM sleep.
Yeah.
And that's the quality deep sleep as well you'll miss.
Yeah.
But CBD doesn't do that. If you're wishing to come off in a way where you feel like you are, or do have a relationship with the ritual of smoking.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of I have control. I've always had control, but I have appreciated a nice blunt in the evening. but I'm yeah, I can still do it if it's the right situation, I feel or whatever. But definitely dreams haven't been a big part of my life when I've been smoking. So that's a good and it's something. The interest in dreams is something that makes it easier for me to stay away. So I would just want to say that if please talk a little bit about what can we take away from the dreams. How can we
who you are and what you are. You see, when you're in your remembrance of the dream, so when you wake, just try to keep the eyes shut and just a small image or a small something that you can remember. And as you said, it starts to build up again. You start to create some scenarios or some scenes, and you remember chatting to this person, or
mostly crazy stuff, but anyway.
Action movies.
Yes.
If you can remember being aware within inside the dream of the situation which was happening, and recognize that there was a body and there was a mind and there was others and you were experiencing, that allows you to take from it that the self was there, that was so very real and vivid, have a relationship to when one perceives to wake up here and experience. Then you can realize that you are the awareness that is able to see the person experiencing. But how I like to share it is, there's, say, 3 dimensions in your dream, in the beginning stages of a dream, or when you're trying to dream, you are able to view images, but you are aware that you are the one viewing the image. And then you may fall into a deeper state where you are the one who is experiencing these images. And then even further, there is the identity or the person or the character that you can fall into and believe you are this, and then you wake up, proceed to wake up. If you see that in this reality, here, this dream, you have actually fallen into the third state. You are in the person who then has to learn to experience momentary presence as a next level to retrieve the one, to then go back to this observer who then finds it difficult to be the experiencer and the person again. So essentially, it's very easy to be a person here because you become identified with the dream. The moment you dreamed or perceived that you were born, you are aware watching this dream and learned to be the person that you are. And you forgot along the way your true source. When you shut your eyes, it's remembered. You find it hard to create images. You find it harder to experience, and you find it even harder to lose yourself in the play. And these are the relationships between yourself, but the whole time you are the one, which is able to create lucidity within inside its consciousness and experience form, albeit a formless experience. You are that, have always been that, but it was your idea that you were not that made you not.
I remember when I was younger, probably in my teens, I had quite a lot of lucid dreams. But being a teenager, I misused it for, of course, groping some girls, or I don't know. But I remember I can like, okay, now I'm dreaming. It was quite often. But I guess we always had we're probably always able to do it, or I don't know. So is it easier for some than others, or?
I think if your awareness is always there, then you can always remember the experience. And then if you wake, go back into the experience and continue the dream. You know, like I visited Thailand the other day and had a great time without flying myself there, but I was there. I had experiences of all the new, I don't smoke cannabis. I did when I was younger, but I don't now. And I experienced the new system there where they have cannabis in the hotel lobbies and things like this. Fully was there. People were speaking the language. I can't speak the language, but it was being spoken. And this is no different than here. But the psyche and the psychology, the psychological drama, the ego holds everyone down to this conceptual reality of the person. When you are the subject reality of the self, have always been, you can never not be it, but the idea that you are not it creates that. It's really incredible. That's why once you find it, brother, you can sit in a cave and just experience dreams perpetually and leave the body as consciousness and continue experiencing. Everything that you experience here can be experienced there, but more, without limitation, without restrictions. Exactly. You are the one.
Yeah, I'm going to keep cultivating the dream skills. I also see we have Jostein Carpenter in the chat. Welcome, brother. Been thinking a lot about you. I was going to ask you if you want to join me again for chat, maybe on an episode. So glad
It'd be
you're
lovely to
here.
have you.
Yeah. What's the best natural supplement? This is Justin's questions. What's the best natural supplementation for B12 until we are able to grow our own food in abundance? Forgive me if I missed this earlier in the conversation, just tuning in. No, it's a good question.
It's very difficult. Rich or foods rich in cobalt will feed the very same bacteria inside your gut, which will then produce B12 itself, which is probably the best way to maintain the system of B12 within the body, as it can stay present for 3 to up to 20 years, but probably between 3 and 7 years. So if one is deficient, there's been a deficiency for a long time. Obviously, B12 supplementation as natural is very difficult to get. You may find it in some root vegetables if there is cobalt present in the food. But the idea of the best supplementation, I would have to say, would be the water-based injectables, to really remedy an issue or to maintain a high level of B12. All the B vitamins are very, very essential for nervous system regulation. But the B12 is one that is the hardest to get in the commercial world. If we look at the relationship between Western world and food products that are given, most of them are fortified with it. So the cereals, the animal products, everything other than what we know to be our natural food has actually been depleted and almost eliminated from soil production, essentially due to artificial fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, destroying the bacteria life in the soil, which consumes the cobalt, which then gives us this B12 in an absorbable form in the plants. So I would say just make sure you get checked. Try to eat cobalt-rich foods. Figs are a great source of this. Eat some roots if they feel and do resonate with you on your normal diet plan. They may have some present in them. A lot of vegans tend to have what was it called? Nutritional yeast fortified with B12. Christian Ball, but I think it's more important to have a good B12 level, as it could be life-threatening eventually, but you will have symptoms and signs that will let you know. Neuropathy being one, losing sensation, numbness, tingling in the hands and feet, a bobbling head. This is more of the severe end.
Okay. So when you see people having those things going on, those are probably B12 deficiency.
Yeah, like you say, Alzheimer's and those type of neurological disorders. I think about 90% of them are very deficient in B12 and could be remedied very easily. But it's not a part of the normal industry, So if you have any family members, it's very, very easily assimilated by the body, and because it's water-based, you can't overdose on B12. So your body takes what it needs and then passes it out. They say between 250 to 900, I think, is an acceptable level, but you tend to feel much better on the higher end of the spectrum, as with anything.
I can attest to that. I had the test done and they showed low B12, and I don't know how it is where you are from, brother Jostein, but I got from my doctor prescribed injectables. So now I have stocked up, hopefully, for a while on B12 via the injectables. So, and then, consciously choosing, and brother Josh has sent me I even forgotten the name, the sea moss, not the Irish sea moss, but the kombu, which I shamefully haven't still cooked up and or made up to ice cubes, which I'm going to do. But those kind of things.
Mentioning that's a good thing. So that's brought in. Sea vegetables are very high in these elements that are necessary for the soil. So you'll find great cobalt in sea vegetables. So as I said, if you feed your body this cobalt, your body will be able to maintain a level inside itself and recycle it. Most feces contains B12. I wouldn't go into the consumption of it, but if you ever get a chance to use it inside your compost or feed it to your garden, then it would be beneficial. But there are a few different types of injectables. There's methylcobalamin, hydroxycobalamin, cyanocobalamin, which is the cyanide or the cyan one. A lot of people tend to shy away from it because it has the cyanide molecule in it. But you have a RDA of cyanide, and I think in a whole 1,000 micrograms on an injectable is like 1/10 of the recommended daily allowance of cyanide in an absorbable form. So it just holds the molecule, and it is not in any way, shape, or form causing any risk, and is made in a natural form, via cobalt and bacteria. So I would say it's the safest way to get yourself back to a normal level or to increase the levels. I know that being in this whole food, plant-based, fruitarian, truth movement, we cannot like to do these things, which is absolutely fine as well. But let go of concepts and remember, this experience is for surrendering concepts and doing that which is best for you at any given moment. So essentially check your levels and do what you need to do. I have seen people lose leg motion, nervous systems completely failing, spines hurting, and just 12 hours after their first injection, they find movement and sensation is returning. But these deficiencies, where they cause anemia and low red and white blood cell count, usually comes together with this. It can take up to 6 to 12 months to fully recover from a severe B12 deficiency, like fully, extreme tiredness. You may find eyes begin to sink, like at the top of the eyelid, due to extreme tiredness, lack of oxygen. You may find if you go to the gym, you may find exertion quickly. You may find, if you remember when you used to do cross country at school, the very end, you felt so tired and fatigued and the eyes started to have pain. So you may find ocular pain. But this would all remedy itself over time. Even, I don't know if anyone has come across it, there's something called the vegan bug eyes. And people have made videos about vegans getting bug eyes, where a lot of the eyes are swollen with inflammation, so they tend to puff out on a meat-based or dairy-based diet. But when you're deficient in B12, the tiredness look tends to kick in and eyes tend to become sunken. So once you have remedied this, it can take sort of 6 months up to a year to sort of go back to its level. But you may find if you have got this, after a sleep, your eyes look normal. And then through the day, they tend to recede back. It's another thing to note.
So, Jostein, thanks you for good information.
Thank you for.
And in my enthusiasm over seeing Jostein in the chat, I skipped a few questions. Just to go back a little bit. Intuition has a question, I think. Does the M in empire stand for electromagnetic fire? As pyre is fire, as in pyrotechnics and funeral fire. Also, I found pyramid means fire in the middle. Would this be our solar plexus?
Wow, I think I'll have to read that question.
Yeah, probably.
With you. Where was it, brother? I see it. Yeah, electromagnetism together, that's what it represents. P is light, I is consciousness that rightfully established itself. So you could say the empire is electromagnetic light, EMP, of consciousness that reciprocates. Also, the reciprocation of pi is, I would say, the reciprocation is down to the physical nature. You have pi and phi. The 5 and 6, the unification of these 1 and 5 making 6, which we spoke about on a great video with Sister Michelle and I. And I guess that's why it's the Empire State ST being sine wave physical 8. So the electromagnetic light of consciousness that rightfully establishes the sine wave of the physical 8 is the Empire State. And fire, as in fire, is the fire, but P and F are interchangeable. One is matter. So F is matter and P is light. That's why the F sound of fire and pH. pH is the light vibration and F is matter. So they would be related together. I also found that pyramid means fire in the middle, which is also the solar plexus, solar. I love the way that you're beginning to pick apart language and see connections. Many people would not be able to bring this relationship to the words, but everything is synchronized in such a way that when you begin to see, you cannot unsee. So allow yourself to create this relationship with the words, and the symbols and signs will reveal themselves to you. But AR obviously is the reverse of RA, but in a hieroglyphic nature, the individual letters are the same. So RA is the full magnetic alpha wave, and AR is the alpha wave of reciprocation or full magnetism. So the sun is essentially an alpha wave, masculine energy. The soul is the source, it's the center, the sine wave void of L. So it would be the central sun, the solar. I think we have covered it. So essentially, your play with your words and consciousness is good. Keep it up. But I would definitely, in my understanding of the word, say that the pi needs to be broken down individually to make sense of it. So you could either do pi, RA, or just the PI, RA, or them all individually. Etherical balance would be the EM before the electromagnetism, but this is essentially what happens when everything is balanced. The EM light. Yes. If you have any questions about it or what I said, please add them now and we'll go over it again. I can see you did. Thank you. We love you.
I just see Jostein had a comment about combusimos for other minerals and iodine, and that made me think of this MMS we were touching upon in the Q&A and privately, actually. Because I've heard from a lot of, let's say, scientists or PhDs. There are some actually out there who's aware of the importance of an alkaline body and those things. And one is called Dr. David Jubb. I don't know if anyone in the chat has heard of him, but he said that old people at the end of their life, they're practically free of minerals in their bodies.
Dehydrated and free of minerals, brittle by nature.
So inserting or getting back minerals is important for I guess what's the preventative and
remineralization is needed. They're like alkalizing by nature. Demineralization is acidic by nature. Anything that is acidic demineralizes you, and this is why it's so important to recognize that aspect. We're not looking for an alkaline body. We're looking for a neutral body consuming alkaline foods, because the nature of physicality is acidic. So when you balance with the alkalinity and, let's say, negative charge, you're bringing balance in all ways. This is why the earth is so special. To be walking on your bare feet in soil, negatively charging, or the earth is giving its negative charge to you, you're allowing the balancing of positively charged particles. That is bringing health. Everything is balanced. People say if you get too alkaline, it's just as dangerous as being acidic. We're not looking for that. We're looking to give the body alkaline so it can then balance itself with the acidic forming line.
How hard would it be to get to alkaline? I can imagine that would be a feat in itself.
So the body would buffer it anyway.
Yeah,
So the
okay.
more alkaline you get, the more acid it will use to buffer. So essentially, you will find balance quicker consuming a high alkalizing diet if you're very acidic. But then there'll become a point where you wouldn't need to do this. But then we are consuming foods by nature which are alkalizing to the body, not necessarily alkalizing by nature, but they are alkalizing to the body. So there's a big difference, like a lemon, 2 to 3, very acidic, but it's very alkalizing to the body. But this is why these fruits are so special, because they don't cause acid. They don't form acid. They don't form mucus. There's no sinuses involved. The sinuses stay free. Anyone with chronic sinusitis knows if they eat fruit, it's going. But if they consume something else, it returns. And sometimes this happens from something as simple as a replacement tooth. And then the disease starts. And you can only bring remedy to it by consuming fruit or fasting.
I think I asked you one time, long time ago in the Q&A, but how, let's say, there are probably beings out there who really struggle and to let go of, let's say, the acid forming foods. But how much fruits, like percentage wise, how much alkaline forming foods and how much acidic forming foods can you have and still be healthy?
70-30, I'd say.
70-30.
Yeah.
So that will be when you're thinking about the 30%, would that be just cooked vegetables and potatoes and those things, or can people do what they want, of course? But
yeah, I allow people the freedom to choose, but I would always recommend having the baseline whole food plant-based, as I do. You definitely feel when you go out of that realm, it's not necessarily a welcoming feeling. So most people would essentially or eventually move to that space. But yeah, I think if you're looking to maintain 70-30 would be a very optimum place to be with whole food plant-based, like fruit-based and cooked food. But if you're in the realm and you're having 70% whole food and you go out 30% or have 30% of the time processed food, you're going to be okay. And then if you need to repair yourself, hydrate yourself and remineralize yourself, you've got the real foods to do it. But what we need is the real foods from the ground that we have grown ourselves and experience that true remineralization from the organic living soil. Everything in this realm is pushing us closer to the truth. So we can see the truth in physical form, and that which we wish to dream maybe next time, experience centuries, millennia of perfection. And we will experience great health in doing so. Great health.
Justin has a comment. Well, it depends on what you consider healthy. It's always a spectrum, and our choice is where we are.
Yeah. I think if we say that healthy is heal thy and foods that heal thyself are essentially in a bracket of, non-acid forming foods, foods that are easily assimilated, and that being the best at assimilating easy with the body would be fruits, then vegetables, then seeds, then nuts. I think legumes, I think they are probably before nuts, actually, so I should have said them too. But nuts and seeds are not necessarily a good source of fuel or optimum
I see we are getting close to 2 hours, so we're gonna round it up. But I see we forgot a question from Sister Lisa, which I want to address, and it was kind of one of the first questions we have.
Okay.
What's the main adjustment in diet for losing body fat? Just fruit while working out?
I think
Mark.
it depends on if the goal is just orientated on losing fat in the quickest way, shape, or form. And if it is a slow and steady loss while you're trying to maintain or slightly grow muscle at the same time, has to be a very acute diet. On the course, we will have many different diet plans for such as losing weight in a slow and steady manner during the working out phase, or if you continue to do it. But making sure that you consume food on a regular basis is very important. So the metabolic rate is higher. So you tend to keep yourself in an anabolic state where you can essentially maintain the muscle and burn the fat. If you're looking at doing any form of cardio or exercise, I would say, walking after meals or after your last meal in the evening would be a good thing to aid in your body fat loss. Eat clean foods, eat regular, and don't overeat on your last meal, and you'll find that the body fat will come off. If you want to do anything such as water fasting, you will find that water fasting eliminates body fat very rapidly, essentially around a pound a day. In doing so, you're not at a calorific deficit. You're just removing the glycogen. So the body will go into the ketosis and start to eat the fat. And when you do refeed and you're back on form, you'll notice there's a spike in elevation in growth hormone, which will then aid in body fat metabolism and increase in your muscular structure. So I think it depends on where you're at and what you wish to do. It's going to be individualized to you. But the advice that I gave then is probably the best advice I could give on a grand scale of things.
So what would you, regarding not overeating on the last meal, which probably I have done the last few months, but would you then recommend a juice for the last meal? And when should you consume the last more meal?
Again, very individualized. If you're trying to maintain mass, then you would have a last meal before you go to bed. And that could be something like a juice or a smoothie, which is going to be good and fine, easily assimilated. You would eat, say, 8:30, maybe before that. And if you were going to bed at 11, maybe 10:30, have your juice. If you're looking to just your single orientation is to lose fat, then maybe the last 2 meals could be juice. You could possibly have a smoothie and then a green juice. So you're removing the sugar overnight. So the fasting of glucose is longer. But you'll find it with the advice that we give and through the journey, but I would say that will probably be the best thing. It's just to make sure you're consuming something to maintain your muscle mass. But essentially, if you do wish to just go to the route to lose your body fat first, you know that the muscle will regain itself within, probably 4 weeks after you've done it, and you feed yourself again, and you keep a close eye on the nature of your body fat. So you are aware of if something makes you gain excess. But, I think within this fruitarian or fruit-based, plant-based community, most people are very slim. Some people are very skinny. Some people have no fat. I feel like sometimes it's quite nice to be a little bit chunky on this diet because you can lose it so easy.
Another question, and of course all of this information will be released with the course itself, but we have all this, normally we have these family fasts every 4 times a year. So the fitness course will probably have one of these months in it. Do we skip this fast this during this course, or do we just try to incorporate it in way?
I think,
Depending on what you want, probably, maybe.
Yeah,
Goal
I think it's all
oriented.
goal orientated.
Yeah,
You don't have to fast, as long, and it's good to just have a small fast and absorb the body. But as a community, I think we'll constantly be updated and communicating, especially on our Q&As about how everyone is going. And if we're on the Q&As, we can absolutely ask what would be the best for each individual at that particular time, and what they wish to do. So I think if we just stick to a base protocol, like beginners themselves are going to have a very different way of training than somebody who's even intermediate, and intermediate is going to be different from somebody that is very advanced. But I wish to see everybody's transformation if they're willing to share it, which would be good. So a section on the course, we will have a place where you can input your measurements and input your pictures if you wish, before and after. And it's a very good thing to see the progress. If you haven't done anything like this before, it's very important to note that it's not necessarily observable by the eye what's happened, because you get used to seeing yourself every day. And before you know it, you found yourself in a very different position, but you haven't really recognized it.
Definitely. So if you haven't been to the website and joined the X family, you have a job to do. The link is in the show notes.
Thank you. Yes, please do come and support everything that we do, and you'll find the shortcuts to the elevation of yourself there, and you get access to our wonderful community, our Q&As, and of course our website. But we are having a new one in its final stages, so that will be able to have a great new system of function and works very well as an app on the telephone, on your mobile phones. So yes, come and support the work, come and join the family and be with the highest vibrational conscious family in the world. Everyone is wonderful, and it's so lovely to be a part of this with you all. So beautiful.
Yes. Thank you so much, Josh, for your time, for your wisdom. Thank you to all the beautiful people in the chat for joining us. We love you all
so much,
and we will see you soon. Can't promise every week, but we take it as it falls naturally.
Yeah, so we do it as much as we can align together, but I love being here with you all. Thank you all for your time. I love you so much.
Yes. Bye-bye, everybody.